Whitburn pulls up for three. Boom! Knocks it down.
Curry from the corner at three. Puts it in.
For overtime, makes it going. Right.
Welcome to the MVP cast from me, Mark Woods. Thank you so much as always for your company on the podcast. First, a word about our new partners, Odds Index, who'll be bringing you odds and insight on the NBA on a daily basis. If you want to get tips, get insight from me and others, you can head to oddsindex.com or follow Odds Index on Twitter. Now, who is the world's most famous basketball team? Well, even the Lakers or the Bulls would probably have to concede that it's a team that's never played a competitive, and I'm using that word advisedly, game. And of course, it is the Harlem Globetrotters, who are back in the UK over the next couple of weeks as part of their Spread Game tour. It all starts in Sheffield on Saturday night. If you've never seen the Globetrotters, I honestly do recommend it. It is so much fun. And if you didn't know, the team with a huge link to the UK, founded all the way back in 1926 by a Londoner, Abe Saperstein, and they haven't stopped bowling since. So I'm delighted. On the podcast, we've got a true Globies legend joining us, Sweet Lou Dunbar. Thank you for joining the MVP cast.
Hey, it's my pleasure, man. Good to be talking to the people of the UK, one of my favorite countries.
Well, we'll be delighted to talk to you. I mean, as I said, the Globetrotters been around since 1926. You've been there for a long time now. That's a fundamental question. What makes a great Harlem Globetrotter?
Well, first of all, a good basketball player is the first thing that makes a good Harlem Globetrotter, and a person with great character also. And you also need to be a people's person. That's one thing about the people that we have. They're great athletes, and they have great character, and they love people. So that's what makes a great Harlem Globetrotter.
You would go back. You've been a part of this organization since 77. Pardon me. How did it come about for you? How did you end up, sporting the famous uniform?
Oh my goodness! Well, after I left the University of Houston, I went to Europe. I played 1 year in Europe in Lugano, Switzerland, and there we won the Swiss championship. And then I came back home, and I joined had a free agent contract with the Houston Rockets. And when I went to play in Los Angeles in the Summer Pro League with them, and there a guy from the Globetrotters invited me to the Globetrotters training camp. And I tell you, the rest is history. It's been some 45 years now I've been with this organization.
What was the first impressions of this? Because, we all grew up watching the Globetrotters, we've seen it, or even, as a kid, I was watching the cartoon series and all that. What was your impression of this from when you get a peek behind the curtain?
Well, first of all, those being my childhood heroes, man, it was something great. I never thought I'd be a guy from a small town in Louisiana touring with the world famous Harlem Globetrotters, and I had the chance to play with my childhood heroes. Metal Lark Lemon, I'm sure everybody in the UK know that name, and also Curly Neal. And then my very second year, I played with the great Marcus Haynes. So that was the cream of the crop for me to be able to play with my childhood heroes, seeing those guys doing those things and being able to be on the basketball court with them.
I mean, you mentioned those three, and amazing players. And Marcus Haynes, one of the best dribblers of a basketball that we've ever seen. And I'm going to throw another two names that have been Globetrotters, which will surprise people. Connie Hawkins and Wilt Chamberlain himself, who was a Globie earlier in his career. I mean, one of the things that I always get asked when I talk about the Globetrotters, for friends who don't really know basketball, are these guys any good? I mean, you guys must get that sort of question all the time. People probably underestimate the quality of players that have come through this organization over the years.
This is so true. And when you say Marcus Haynes is one of the best dribblers, Marcus Haynes was the best dribbler. I mean, I've had the opportunity to see some of the all-time greats, and nobody did it better than Marcus Haynes. And for you to name those NBA legends, Connie Hawkins and Wilt Chamberlain, hey, when they got the opportunity to play with the Globetrotters, Wilt Chamberlain said the best time he ever had was playing with the Harlem Globetrotters because he got a chance to, show his skills off and show the world and doing the best he could be, being the best he could be. And these guys have tremendous talents. I mean, at one point in time, there wasn't a lot of places for black athletes to go, if you recall. It was either NBA, even before the European League started. I mean, there was only the NBA or the Harlem Globetrotters black athletes,
I mean, it seems appropriate to kind of touch on that point when we're in the middle of Black History Month, because there was obviously a long time when African-American black players couldn't play in the NBA or its predecessor leagues. I mean, this has been such an important franchise, hasn't it, for players of color to develop their skills, to get opportunities right from the very start.
Exactly. It finally came around. The NBA finally figured, hey, listen, these guys can really play the game. And I don't know if you know it or not, but in 1948, when the Harlem Globetrotters played against the champs of the NBA, which were the Minneapolis Lakers at that particular time, and they had the great white player George Mikan, and the Globetrotters beat them. And everybody said, oh, well, that was a fluke. So they played them again in 49. And at this point in time, Marcus Haynes and those guys put on a show at the end of the game, and they beat them again. And at that point, they didn't play them anymore. And so, as you know, the first black basketball player that played in the NBA was Sweetwater Clifton, who came from the Harlem Globetrotters. So it was about that time.
Did you find that even at the point where you were coming in, that you've grown up seeing these guys and there were role models there, and the NBA wasn't as big even at the point when you came in to even when you were drafted by the Sixers? Did you sort of sense the importance of culturally of the Globetrotters and what they brought for basketball?
Oh my goodness, yes. I was still amazed about the things these guys did under some duress. I mean, they didn't have the greatest of conditions doing the things that they did. But if you see some of the pictures from the 50s, 40s, these guys was always impeccably dressed. When they was dressed to impress, and and they wasn't making that much money, and they was just doing what they loved to do and getting the opportunity to do what they loved to do. And as you say, the NBA wasn't that popular at that time. Another fun fact for the people in the UK, that when the NBA wasn't that popular, they invited the Harlem Globetrotters to play before the NBA game, so they had a double hitter, so they could fill the stadiums. And what would happen was, after the Globetrotters would play, people would leave the arena. So what they had to do was change the format and let the NBA play first, because they knew they was going to stay to see the Globetrotters. And a lot of people don't realize what a shot in the arm the Harlem Globetrotters was for the NBA.
I mean, back in the days, and we talked about Abe Saperstein setting this team up, or was one of those who you really got it off the ground. I mean, it came out of Chicago, and it was then they were playing exhibitions before dances, and it was always very much linked to entertainment. I mean, right from the very start. What did you feel the DNA was?
They were a barnstorming team. It wasn't all about entertainment. They were going around playing anybody that would play them at that particular time. And then, something happened. Back in those days, they used to play in those cold arenas. And they didn't have, some of the guys. And as a matter of fact, one of the guys, while they were playing, one of the guys was by one of those pot-bellied stoves, and his pants caught on fire. And he started running across the floor, and people started laughing. They thought it was the funniest thing in the world. But he was just trying to keep warm. And that's part of the time when they started doing some of the comedy and the entertainment with the Globetrotters.
Did you find that that there's that DNA, that all teams and great organizations have? I mean, that sort of interaction and the sort of, I guess, the personal relationships that this team builds with its fans and has always had with its fans. Is that something, do you think, that comes out of being great players or being great entertainers?
I think it's a combination of both, and not just that, being great people. I mean, I've seen a lot of great athletes, tremendous athletes that couldn't deal with people. I mean, and these guys, they did it all. They played on the rest. They sometimes they didn't play. I mean, they even played in bull arenas, on the dirt. But they did it because they loved the game and they loved what they were doing, and that's why they became the Goodwill's ambassadors. I mean, people love them, and we always say you have to remember there's a smile anywhere you go.
You have, I think, at this point, been to over 90 countries at an estimate since your time, and the Globetrotters have been, I think the total's now 124 countries, and that's everywhere. I mean, that's pretty much every corner. Never has a team been better named with one eye on its future than the Globetrotters. Did you get that sense? I mean, basketball's a game that's always been global, but it's only really the last kind of 25 years, 30 years that it's truly become a game that belongs to the world. How much was that sense with you guys that sometimes you were out there selling this game, spreading the gospel of hoops?
I think 100% the Globetrotters are responsible for those countries doing what they do. As you know, the first basketball the English UK saw was the Harlem Globetrotters and any other country over there. I also remember the time that the Dream Team was in Spain, and some people were asking about the Dream Team, and the guy said, "I know Harlem." One of the guys fans said, "I know Harlem." He didn't know who Michael Jordan was, Charles Barkley. He knew who the Harlem Globetrotters were because they laid the groundwork, not just for the NBA, but for the European countries as well.
Give me some of the highlights. I mean, you've been to so many of these places, and some off the beaten track places as well as the great cities of the world. Where stood out? Where surprised you with the reaction perhaps the most?
Oh man, let me start with the UK. My very first year coming to the UK, and we played at Wembley. We used to call the court was green. I don't know if you go back that far, but the court out there was a green court. We used to call it the Green Monster, man. But we looked forward to coming to Wembley every night. And the games were at 9:00, so we had the opportunity during the day to see part of the country, man, and that was great. And we said the tradition for us was, and I learned this my very first year with the Globetrotters in Europe. We used to go there before the games and get those beans and wieners before the game at Wembley Stadium.
Great
that
British
was
cuisine.
An absolute treat for us. Yes, and also one of the highlights for me was getting the opportunity to meet Pope John Paul II, and this was probably we made him the 75th. He's the 75th Pope. And he gave him the number 75 as honorary Harlem Globetrotter. That was also one of the big highlights of my career. And man, going to Egypt, seeing the pyramid, going across the Great Wall of China, oh my goodness, those are the things people never forget in their life. And you think of Paris. When you think of Paris, you think about the Champs-Elysees, the Eiffel Tower, the Moulin Rouge. Who would have thought a guy from a little town in Louisiana had the opportunity to see all those places? Those are some great memories.
Is that part of the unexpected joy of this team? Because I've known guys that have played in the British League that have become Globetrotters, and it's speaking to them, you kind of get the sense it's the opportunity. Because there's a lot of players, some like you, who will stay for decades and be part of the furniture, but some who will play for a year or 2 years. But is that maybe the great thing about this, is to give the opportunities it's given to so many players to meet folk, visit places, and do things that you would never normally do even as a pro?
I think it's a great thing. You have to also remember that this job with the Harlem Globetrotters creates so many opportunities for these young guys. First of all, you get an opportunity to do what you do and what you love, and that's to play the game of basketball. And if you think about it, you get a chance to travel the world, you see the world, and not just that, you're kind of like Santa Claus. You may come around once a year, boy, and you put smiles on people's faces, and you make everybody happy. What else could you ask for? Oh, and don't forget, they pay you for that.
Where was the you can pick, there may be nowhere, but where was the toughest crowd? Did you ever end up where you thought, they don't quite understand this? This is different. This is a spectacle.
Well, once I was in China, man, it was a difficult time, and they looked so serious when I was doing the show with the referee. They thought I was a bully, because I was messing with the official. And they thought I was a bully, man. And that was a part of the show where I would throw a cup of water in the audience. And I told my coach, I said, Coach, I don't think this is going to be a good idea because they're not looking too happy. But what had happened was at halftime, they explained to people what was going on. And man, hey, the second half was beautiful. But the first half was a little bit dodgy, as they would say.
How much, coach the team part of the time. How much practice do you guys do? Or how do you get ready to, this is obviously a show as well. How do you prepare? Particularly if you've got a new group, this is a new tour. How do you prepare a group to have this show, for the kind of choreography that goes alongside the basketball skills?
It's a lot of work, I must say that. And a lot of people don't understand that, especially if you're the showman. If you're running up and down the floor, talking, trying to make somebody laugh, and then trying to put the ball in the hoop, that's not an easy task. If you think I'm joking, give yourself 2 or 3 minutes running up and down that floor talking, trying to be funny, and trying to make some baskets, and see how that comes out for you. But these guys and these young ladies we have, we prepare every day. We get to the arenas, if the game's at 7 o'clock, we are there at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, getting ready for the evening. And we work on things that we didn't do well the night before, and we continue. And then that's the time we develop new routines. And we're in there a lot. People don't understand that. They think we get there an hour before the game and do what we do and get out of there. That's not true. We're in there 3 or 4 hours before the game, and we're there after the game because, as you know, after the game, we do a 30-minute autograph session with the fans because nobody else in professional sports does that but the Harlem Globetrotters.
It was always Goose Tatum, who's another legend of the team, that kind of was credited initially with adding this entertainment and especially the comedy to it all. Comic routines are hard, and comic timing it's a real skill out there. You guys must make each other laugh a lot.
Yeah, but of course. And, speaking of Goose Tatum, and, myself, Geese Osby, Metal Lock Lemon, I think we all were, Twiggy Sanders, we all were pretty good showmen in the day. But Goose Tatum was the master. He was the inventor of this thing, being the clown prince of the basketball. And with those long arms, man, Goose could wave that ball and do that thing with that basketball like no other. But then, too, second to none, Metal Lock Lemon, you have to take your hat off to him. He made that hook shot so famous. I've seen Metal Lock sit in one spot and drop 3 in a row. We throw him off the bench to him, bam, 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 And so he made the hook shot famous. So you got to take your head off the Metal Lock Lemon as well.
You've had yourself immortalized as a team in so many ways. I know there's a new TV show at the minute that's coming in the States that hopefully we'll see over here before too long. But when you look at some of the portrayals of the team, does that kind of illustrate the fame of this, the impact of this? When like I said, I remember as a kid watching this cartoon and looking at these guys and thinking, wow, they must be amazing in real life, because it felt like they were superheroes.
Hey, man, that's a part of it. And fortunately, I was one of those guys in the second cartoon. I was the Gizmo man. I was the guy with the big afro that used to pull stuff out of my fro. If we needed something, I was the guy. I would go to my fro and pull it out for those guys. As a matter of fact, one of the guys told me once, he said, "Sweet Lou, you're better than traveler's checks," the stuff I was pulling out of my hair. So, but it's also good to portray those things for these kids, and give them something to look forward to. And the TV show that you mentioned, Play It Forward, It's to introduce the new players, the new generation of players, and give you a little opportunity to see what these guys and girls do in their everyday lives. You know, they're not just basketball players; they're entrepreneurs. They're doing different things in their lifestyle. But you know, you got to always have a vehicle, and I think the vehicle is being a basketball player for the Harlem Globetrotters for these players.
What do you think the difference is now in the team as it sits today and the organisation as it sits today? Because it's, you know, it's changed and evolved, and as Tyson, you know, the media has evolved, the kind of opportunities. What is the biggest shift between your first year in '77 and, you know, here we are so many years later?
There's a whole lot of difference. Oh my goodness. First of all, I don't know if you know, they changed the uniform the last year, so the guys and girls are wearing black uniforms. And it's been so many different changes because, you know, at one particular time, the Globetrotters, you know, we didn't change with the time. Now we got all the lights, the glitter, as most people come out to. And people love to see that. But you got to remember, we're a team of, what should I say, memories. We create memories. And people, and generational memories. People bring their kids and say, listen, I want you to see what I saw when I was a kid. So we try to keep some of those things around, like the water bucket and the confetti. People never forget that, you know, and they never know which one is coming first. And so when people bring their kids, they sit there and they say, wait, here it comes. And then we also try to bring some new stuff to it. And it's a faster game. It's a faster game. These young athletes, they're jumping higher than we did, and they're a lot faster, a lot stronger. But, you know, some things never change. The basketball is still great.
Do you think there's as much of an appeal for players, or how do you create that appeal? Because, again, you look when you were doing it. You went to Switzerland and you had that. You know, you had a great year. Let's not undersell it. You guys were playing in Europe. You reached the quarterfinals of what's now the EuroLeague, and you know you were a great player in European terms. But you were part of that pioneering generation who found jobs and opportunities overseas. Now it's a lot easier, particularly if you're a young American player. What's the selling pitch to a player today who could get a job in a China, a Switzerland, the UK?
Well, you know, I think it's a thing of preference. It's a thing of preference right now because, you know, they have a lot more opportunities to do things. As you say, the European League is very inviting, and but it just depends on if you want to play at home or if you want to go abroad. Also, the NBA, people have to remember, everyone wants to play in the NBA, but there's not room for everyone in the NBA. That just isn't. And also, you know, you have to sacrifice in anything you do. And the CBA, these minor league teams that the NBA have, I mean, those guys struggle. I mean, the pay is not that great. But, you know, as you know, it's not that great. And so if, you know, somebody's trying to get in the game and play the game and get ready to go, the Harlem Globetrotters is a place to be. And, you know, you have to also remember, money isn't everything. You know, you got to be happy doing what you do. And I guarantee you, 90% of these players that play with the Globetrotters are happy because they're getting that opportunity to do what they do. They make people happy. They put smiles on people's faces. And they're touring the world.
I'm going to ask you, like, this is probably like, you know, that question where you ask them to pick your favourite child. But did you have a favourite game that you ever played in for the Globetrotters? Because you guys, you know, not only obviously playing the Washington Nationals or, you know, the travelling teams, but, you know, you also got to play some great teams internationally over the years.
Well, I never did. When I was playing, they didn't afford us the opportunity to play against the other teams back when they let black playing against the college all-stars. They also played against some of the, as you mentioned, international teams. They didn't afford us that opportunity, but it would have been great. We would have loved to have done it. But, you know, but now the Washington Generals, they hadn't won one since '71. You know, but they've come close, and they've had some pretty good athletes during the course of these years out here. And now we try to make sure that the opportunity when we play against these guys that the caliber of play is good. And these guys have some great athletes. You get a chance to see them when they come to the UK here shortly. They're not bad. They do a pretty good job out there. But you have to always remember one thing. Nobody wants to see the Harlem Globetrotters lose. That's like shooting Santa Claus. You got to know that's like shooting Santa Claus.
Well, there was that one famous game, and I think it was like 71. I think when the Generals won, and it was I know it was a game winner, or a buzzer beater in that. I'd love to have been in that locker room afterwards.
Oh, I'm glad I wasn't there. And I think Louis Claus of the General made that last basket to beat them, and Lewis was a great basketball player, as you know. He also played for the world champion Washington Bullets one year before he became a Washington General. So they're not a bad team, but we don't want that to happen. They say history repeats itself. We don't want that one to come around again.
Obviously, no one wants to see them lose, but how competitive at times do those, maybe, we're talking probably first half rather than second half, but how competitive can those games get sometimes? You're putting 10 bowlers out on the floor together.
Oh, my goodness. And that's the best part of this. You get a chance to ball. We play basketball. It's not all comedy. A lot of this, and we 50-50 actually, and the basketball game gets very competitive. Oh, my goodness. And it's getting better. These guys, and we have the 4-point shot now. And these guys are going out there every day practicing these long-distance shots because, when you come around and say, man, well, I dropped four-pointers on you, that's not easy to say. That's not an easy task. And it's still physical. Basketball is a physical game. And these guys and these girls are so competitive. Hey, every day it's a fight out there on that basketball floor. But in the end, it's for a good cause. And that's to make some people happy and create some great memories.
Do you sense, and I'm sure the answer is yes, and I hope it's yes, do you sense this is, in 50 years' time, 100 years' time, we're going to still see the Globetrotters going out and doing the thing? Because, it feels like something that is timeless, especially in a sport that is still growing across the world.
I most definitely think in the next 100 years, that will still be the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters. It's hard to find good, clean, wholesome family entertainment, and that's exactly what we are. And we're good basketball. It's great basketball as well. So, what else to do? If you're a basketball player, a person, and you want to see a great basketball game and have fun, where else can you go but to the Harlem Globetrotters? Oh, yeah. We'll be here for generations and generations. Even when me and you gone, they'll be still talking about the Harlem Globetrotters.
So here's a tough one to almost let you away with. You could pick 5 guys out of the NBA just now to be the dream extra, apart from the guys you've got, which are great. But if you had to pick 5 new guys, take them out of the NBA, which 5 players would be the best Globetrotters?
Well, you know what? I'd have to go back a little bit to do that because, Ja Morant would be one of my top picks right now. This young kid is athletic. He's fun to watch. And, a guy like Allen Iverson, I think he would also be one of my picks because he was very entertaining. And, of course, you got to have Mike. You got to have Mike. Because all the aerial assaults that he did, oh, man, it was just great. And, and then, too, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq made a great Harlem Globetrotter. He's fun. He's a great physical basketball player up under the basket, and sometimes we need that. And then, of course, Magic. Magic the trickster would come around. Those would be my 5 picks.
That would be some team to watch. And yeah, I'm surprised no one ever got Shaq in at the end of his career. Maybe there's time. You can still play a bit. Last one, Luke. For kids or parents who listen to this who haven't seen it before, what are they going to expect in the UK over the next few weeks when they come and see the Globetrotters?
Now, see, when you say that, my coach used to always say, would ask someone, "Have you seen the Harlem Globetrotters?" They said, "No, I've never seen them." And he said, "Are you from the moon? How could you have not ever seen the Harlem Globetrotters?" You know, but you know, when you come see the Globetrotters, you gotta get 2 hours of fun and entertainment for the whole family and some great basketball. And also, we plan to create some memories for you to take home and remember for a lifetime. So you're going to have a great time. So have them come out and enjoy themselves.
Well, I've seen them a few times. I have always enjoyed the memories. It is a great night. And keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us, Lou. And happy travels when you next get on the road.
All right. Appreciate you. Love to the UK.
And I'll tell you where you can see the Globetrotters over the next few weeks. So on Saturday night, they started at Sheffield's Utility Arena. The next night, they're at the Over Arena at Wembley. Then you go Bournemouth, Liverpool, Newcastle, Hull, Cardiff, Brighton. On the 17th, they're at London's O2. And then it all finishes up on the 18th of October at Nottingham's Motor Point Arena. If you want to get your tickets for that, head to bookingsdirect.com. And I'm sure you'll have a fantastic night out. Now that is it for the MVP cast. Of course, you can get all our episodes via the website at mvp247.com. Of course, you can make it easier for yourself. Subscribe to the podcast and you'll never miss an episode. Just head to your preferred podcast provider. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Another one coming very soon from me, Mark Woods. Thank you so much for joining us, and it's goodbye.